Hi, I am Doopy and welcome to my channel Doopy Rants. In this video I will be talking about abortions. This topic is very interesting to me. Did you know abortion's been going on for over 3,000 years? Probably since the first civilization started or the first nomad tribe existed. We know it's been over 3,000 years because of the Ebers Papyrus medical text that shows women how to induce abortion. That document is dated 1550 BC. Also there is Chinese folklore dated around 2700 BC. About Emperor Shenan, a legendary emperor, who later became a deity in Chinese and Vietnamese folk religion, who taught the Chinese how to do their practices of agriculture and make herbal drugs. Also prescribed the use of mercury to induce abortion. These documents shows that abortion existed then and in different areas of the world. Abortion wasn't anything new like stem cell research. With that being said, currently there isn't any religious document that specifically say, "Thou shalt not commit abortion during those times." However, in the Old Testament Exodus chapter 21:22 says, this scripture sounds like unborn baby is more of property than committing murder. Similarly, another scripture in Numbers 5:11-22 says, personally, I don't take a scripture out of context to fit my narrative or any religious context for that matter. Keep in mind both scriptures happened around the same time when Moses received the Ten Commandments, which he received twice because he broke the first one. The scripture in Numbers sounds like this particular water caused induced abortion because the woman committed adultery. Many scholars today believe the Bible was written around 1450 to 1400 BC. So I wonder why it wasn't mentioned in the New Testament if it is as wrong as what some people say. A Greek philosopher Aristotle makes distinction of the difference between male and female embryo growth and when it is appropriate to induce abortion or not. In Historia Animalium. In U.S. history from colonial times to the late 1800s, midwives helped pregnancy and abortion. However, certain states slowly started illegalizing it. For example, Connecticut was the first state to regulate abortion in 1821 because of a sex scandal. Outlawed abortions after quickening. Quickening is when the person could feel the baby first kick or make any movement. Then New York made pre-quickening a misdemeanor and post-quickening a felony in 1829. I bet they had a flagman that would stalk every pregnant woman. Only approach her when she had a quickening. Say something like the baby is safe. However, that did not stop a woman named Madame Restel, but her real name was Anne Trot. Around late 1830s she offered woman birth control powders and abortion pills. She and other women would use certain names to offer her services through newspaper. She also offered surgical abortions if the abortion pills failed. To her patients she was loved, but to rest of the population they demonized her. Called her the abortionist of Fifth Avenue. Another major impact was in 1847 the founding of American medical associations by doctors and pharmacists, which at first they weren't taken seriously until 1857 established the Committee of Criminal Abortion and launched campaigns against midwives' work. They argued that pregnancy and abortions should be performed by doctors, not women or midwives. It was during this time Catholic Church stance on abortion was homicide after quickening. Also, the Catholic Church had discussions with AMA members of whether the life of a fetus began at quickening or conception. To me this sounds like the Catholic Church and AMA members conspired against women and midwives, especially considering what it entails. Lastly, there was fear that Chinese and Italian immigrants would ruin white Americans' vision of America during the 1860s. There were a lot of tension between immigrants and Americans back then. By 1880s most states had some kind of law restricting abortion. By 1910 abortion was illegal in America with the exception that it affected the women's health. However, despite being illegal, women continued to do abortions. Back alley abortion it estimated 2 million per year, and by 1930 and a fifth of the back alley abortion women died. I'm going to go back to this. By 1960s the shift changed towards abortion. Sherry Finkbein, a popular TV host of a show called Romper Room. She was taking morning after pills that her husband got from Europe, which she used during the early stages of her fifth pregnancy. Unaware they contained thalidomide, which could cause serious fetal deformities when used in early stages of pregnancy. After the discovery she sought for abortion in Japan, which she was denied visa but was able to go to Sweden since it was still illegal in America. This caused a huge controversy in which only 52% Americans approved her decision. 1973 Roe v. Wade Supreme Court made abortion legal. 1977 to 1988 series of attacks against abortion clinics such as bombings, vandalism and murder. Oh, the irony. See this why I question the moral intentions of pro-life. Just because you disagree with what they do to their own body doesn't mean you have any justification to push your opinion on them or harm them in any way. 1994 Bill Clinton signed Freedom to Access Clinics Act made it a federal crime to physically obstruct entrance or intimidate women or workers. Speaking of 1994, here is statistic on women who had abortion. What I find is disturbing is this particular age group outnumbers every other age group here. Maybe some girls that went through abortion in this statistic were able to get help to protect her from bad people. 2003 Partial Birth Abortion Act, which prohibits late-term abortions of a partially delivered fetus unless it affects the life of the mother. 2016 Supreme Court made a decision after Whole Women's Health vs. Hellerstedt case which Texas couldn't place restriction on abortion services that create undue burden for women. May 2, 2022 a leaked document that Supreme Court strike down Roe vs. Wade decision. June 24, 2022 Supreme Court overturned Roe vs. Wade and left abortion decisions to the states and abortion no longer a constitutional right. This Supreme Court decision is like what happened in United States vs. Cruikshank, leaving the decision up to the states, and we all saw how bad that went. Now that the history part is over, I have a few questions. What is considered a person in relation to unborn and mind as well as the undead? No, I don't mean this, but rather this bizarre story. I hope it's not like that 3/5 type bullshit like they did in the past. Secondly, if a person's soul starts near or at conception, then this woman literally has more souls on her face than the Mortal Kombat character Shang Tsung has ever collected. But if it started at this stage, then I can't imagine the growth pains it would be feeling. Now that I think about it, I bet the ghost would look like this after abortion. What I'm trying to understand is whereas the unborn is actually considered as a living person with all of their God-given rights. Or can we consider when it is born? Christianity or any religion shouldn't be brought up in this conversation considering there isn't any known moral justification for it. Also, what happened to separation of church and state? On top of that, there isn't a clear stance on this topic in any religion. Also, as much as religious people are against abortion, there are religious people that are for it. Nowadays there are a lot of different religions, and what if one of them incorporated abortion? Would their practice be covered in the First Amendment? This leads to my next point. From what I've seen, this is one of the topics that should be separated by partisanship. It's nearly as ridiculous as creating laws against body tattoos or wearing a mask during a pandemic. This should be a natural given freedom. It's crazy to me that the government is regulating on what the woman decides to do with her own body. What's next on people who self-mutilate their body or body piercings or implant? Now the people who stand outside Planned Parenthood, y'all some real assholes. They don't know the reason why women making their decision. Instead of protesting outside of abortion clinics, they should volunteer in daycare services. That would prove a point to me. If the woman's decision of abortion is because of rape, then that would make sense. Imagine if you were put in prison maybe for a crime you didn't commit. Then while you were in, you were raped. For some reason the warden decides to place that rapist picture in your prison cell. Maybe the convict of the year photo. How inhumane would it be for you to have to see that every day? All I'm saying is consider the woman's perspective before you demonize their actions. Lastly, the biggest issue that I have is most birth control isn't 100%. Women or men would literally have to go to a doctor to get it done surgically. Well, women also have the option to have an IUD or implantable rod inserted. Those procedures can have bad side effects. Let's say a couple takes a chance and not use those methods but rather use something less drastic. Like condom or whatever. That couple lives in state that bans abortion entirely. And then 9 months later she delivers a baby. Now they have to pay anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000 just to have the baby delivered. In this case I would say the couple shouldn't have to pay for that. That's on the state since they banned abortion completely. That not even saying the other cost of raising a child too. Here's a question: has the Prohibition Act of 1930 worked? How well is the war on drugs going? Likewise, making abortion illegal in early 1900s didn't stop women from having abortion. The only difference from then and today, if abortion was completely illegal again, it is more accessible. Women would find home remedies, move to different location where it's legal, or online abortion pills or back alley procedures. There might be a guy like Walter White from Breaking Bad and just mix certain on-the-shelf medications and just produce abortion pills. Here are some questions that I have if unborn is considered a person. Can pregnant women be on the HOV lane on highways since she is carrying another person? Can immigrant who is pregnant be deported though she had the child in the U.S. since conception? If not, then would it be considered an American baby as being deported? Can an unborn baby have a life insurance policy started? Companies like Gerber offered for newborn. Would it be considered manslaughter if somehow a physical altercation caused a miscarriage? Or a prescribed medicine that caused a miscarriage? So all I'm saying is from these factors, that abortion laws in U.S. history weren't based on moral justification but after a sex scandal, of popularity, and fear of immigration and integration. Also, there isn't any religion that has a solid stance against abortion amongst all their members. Healthcare today doesn't offer any 100% birth control without going through some kind of surgery. It is necessary in certain situations such as incest, rape, or health complications. Previous bans has been known to be ineffective in preventing abortion, as well as its complexity when addressing certain situations. Lastly, people who are against abortion don't have any solution in creating the support that is required if abortion is banned completely. Adoption agency alone isn't enough. The list could go on and on about this. Based on those factors, I don't see an issue for a woman to have an abortion. Women in states that ban abortion might as well go on an abstinence pledge and just play with Bob until the ban is lifted. The only thing I want to know is when as a society stop finding ways to control women. With that being said, if a man isn't ready for a child for whatever reason but the woman is, he should be able to opt out of paying child support. This would be fair to men. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notifications button so you would be notified when I post my next video. Bye bye.